Hey, squirrel listeners. Wet hair. Sorry about that. I had to wash the mane and I wanted to go ahead and get this done because I forgot yesterday. I'm so sorry. At least I think I did. So we're still in the middle of whatever chapter this is. It'll be on the title. I just don't know at the reading of this right now. Let's see. Let me go back a sentence. They're talking about the improvers. Okay, let me just go back the paragraph. The improvers did know all too well. Even the least imaginative among them could picture the grotesque effect of half a mile of board fence adorned with such advertisements. So we're talking about the painted ads that were going to be there. All thought of church and school grounds vanished before this new danger. Parliamentary rules and regulations were forgotten, and Anne, in despair, gave up trying to keep minutes at all. Everybody talked at once, and fearful was the hubbub. Oh, let us keep calm, implored Anne, who was the most excited of them all, and try to think of some way of preventing him. I don't know how you're going to prevent him, exclaimed Jane bitterly. Everybody knows what Judson Parker is. He'd do anything for money. He hasn't a spark of public spirit or any sense of the beautiful. The prospect looked rather unpromising. Judson Parker and his sister were the only Parkers in Avonlea, so that no leverage could be exerted by family connections. Martha Parker was a lady of all too certain age who disapproved of young people in general and the improvers in particular. Judson was a jovial, smooth-spoken man, so uniformly good-natured and bland that it was surprising how few friends he had. Perhaps he had the better. Perhaps he had got the better in too many business transactions, which seldom makes for popularity. He was reputed to be very sharp, and it was the general opinion that he hadn't much principle. If Judson Parker has a chance to turn an honest penny, as he says himself, he'll never lose it, declared Fred Wright. Is there nobody who has any influence over him? Asked Anne despairingly. He goes to see Louisa Spencer at White Sands, suggested Carrie Sloane. Perhaps she could coax him not to rent his fences. Not she, said Gilbert emphatically. I know Louisa Spencer well. She doesn't believe in village improvement societies, but she does believe in dollars and cents. She'd be more likely to urge Judson on than to dissuade him. The only thing to do is to appoint a committee to wait on him and protest, said Julia Bell, and you must send girls, for he'd hardly be civil to boys, but I won't go, so nobody need nominate me. Better send Anne alone, send Anne alone, said Oliver Sloane. She could talk Judson over, if anybody can. Anne protested she was willing to go and do the talking, but she must have others with her for moral support. Diana and Jane were therefore appointed to support her morally, and the improvers broke up, buzzing like angry bees with indignation. Anne was so worried she didn't sleep until nearly morning, and then she dreamed that the trustees had put a fence around the school and painted "Try Purple Pills" all over it. The committee waited on Judson Parker the next afternoon. Anne pleaded eloquently against his nefarious design, and Jane and Diana supported her morally and valiantly. Judson was sleek, suave, flattering, paid them several compliments of the delicacy of sunflowers, felt real bad to refuse such charming young ladies, but business was business. Couldn't afford to let sentiment stand in the way these hard times. But I'll tell what I will do. Oh, here is him talking. But I'll tell what I will do, he said, with a twinkle in his lightful eyes. I'll tell the agent he must use only handsome, tasty colors, red and yellow, and so on. I'll tell him he mustn't paint the ads blue on any account. Remembering the blue hall that they met in, I guess. The vanquished committee retired, thinking things not lawful to be uttered. We have done all we can and must simply trust the rest to Providence, said Jane with an unconscious imitation of Mrs. Lynde's tone and manner. I wonder if Mr. Allen could do anything, reflected Diana. Anne shook her head. No, it's no use to worry Mr. Allen, especially now when the baby's so sick. Judson will slip away from him as smoothly as from us, although he has taken to going to church quite regularly just now. That's simply because Louisa Spencer's father is an elder and very particular about such things. Judson Parker's the only man in Avonlea who would dream of renting his fences, said Jane indignantly. Even Levi I feel it's falling down. Even Levi Bolter or Lorenzo White would never stoop to that, tight-fisted as they are. They would have too much respect for public opinion. Public opinion was certainly down on Judson Parker when the facts became known, but that did not help matters much. Judson chuckled to himself and defied it, and the improvers were trying to reconcile themselves to the prospect of seeing the prettiest part of the New Bridge Road defaced by advertisements. When Anne rose quietly at the president's call for reports of committees on the occasion of the next meeting of the society, and announced that Mr. Judson Parker had instructed her to inform the society that he was not going to rent his fences to the Patent Medicine Company. Hang on just a second. Let's see if I can get this back on here. I moved Diego back here, and I think he caused my pillow to come undone because I must have had him up underneath it or something. Oh, pillow, stay in here. Probably not getting it straight. Oh, come on, come on. Come on, pillow. What is wrong? Oh, my goodness. I should have just waited till after the book and tackled this. Come. I give up. I'll fix you later. I've even got tape up here. Shoot, that one won't even go in. Where was I? I need a little sip. Yum. Sparkling water with some flavor added in. That he was not going to rent. Okay. So, Jane and Diana stared as if they found it hard to believe their ears. Parliamentary etiquette, which was generally very strictly enforced in the AVIS, forbade them giving instant vent to their curiosity, but after the society adjourned, Anne was besieged for explanations. Because she told a lie, didn't she? Anne had no explanation to give. Judson Parker had overtaken her on the road the preceding evening and told her that, oh, never mind. He changed his mind. How dare I think Anne would have told a story. Had overtaken her on the road the preceding evening and told her he had decided to humor the AVIS in its particular prejudice against patent medicine advertisements. That was all Anne would say then or ever afterwards, and it was the simple truth. But when Jane Andrews, on her way home, confided to Oliver Sloane her firm belief that there was more behind Judson Parker's mysterious change of heart than Anne Shirley had revealed, she spoke the truth also. Anne had been down to old Mrs. Irving's on the shore road the preceding evening and had come home by a shortcut, which led her first over the low-lying shore fields and then through the beech wood below Robert Dixon's, by a little footpath that ran out the main road just above the lake of shining waters, known to unimaginable people as Barry's Pond. Two men were sitting in their buggies, reined off to the side of the road just at the entrance of the path. One was Judson Parker. The other was Jerry Corcoran, a Newbridge man against whom, as Mrs. Lynde would have told you in eloquent italics, nothing shady had ever been proved. He was an agent for agricultural implements and a prominent personage in matters political. He had a finger, some people said all his fingers, in every political pie that was cooked. And as Canada was on the eve of a general election, Jerry Corcoran had been a busy man for many weeks, canvassing the county in the interest of his party's candidate. Just as Anne emerged from under the overhanging beech boughs, she heard Corcoran say, "If you'll vote for Amesbury, Parker, well, I've a note for that pair of harrows you've got in the spring. I suppose you wouldn't object to having it back, eh?" "Well, since you put it that way," drawled Judson with a grin, "I reckon I might as well do it. A man must look out for his own interest in these hard times." Both saw Anne at this moment, and conversation abruptly ceased. Anne bowed frostily and walked on with her chin slightly more tilted than usual. Soon Judson Parker overtook her. "Have a lift, Anne?" he inquired genially. "Thank you, no," said Anne politely, but with a fine needle-like disdain in her voice that pierced even Judson Parker's none too sensitive consciousness. His face reddened as he twitched his reins angrily, but the next second prudential considerations checked him. He looked uneasily at Anne as she walked steadily on, glancing neither to the right nor the left. Had she heard Corcoran's unmistakable offer and his own too plain acceptance of it? Confound Corcoran if he If he couldn't put his meaning into less dangerous phrases, he'd get into trouble. Some of these long come shorts. I don't know what that means. And confound red-headed schoolma'ams with the habit of popping out of beech woods where they had no business to be. If Anne had heard Judson Parker measuring her corn in his own half bushel, as the country saying went, and cheating himself thereby, as such people generally do, believed that he would tell it far and wide. Now Judson Parker, as had been seen, was not overly regardful of public opinion, but to be known as having accepted a bribe would be a nasty thing. And if it ever reached Isaac Spencer's ears, doggone. Farewell forever to all hope of winning Louisa Jane with her comfortable prospects as the heiress of a well-to-do farmer. Judson Parker knew that Mr. Spencer looked somewhat askance at him as it was. He could not afford to take any risk. "Anne, I've been wanting to see you about that little matter we've been discussing the other day. I've decided not to let my fences to that company let my fence like rent. To that company, after all, a society with an aim like yours ought to be encouraged. Anne thought out the merest trifle. Thank you, she said. And you needn't mention that little conversation of mine with Jerry. And confound redheaded... Oh, I just said that. When I go to do a page sometimes, it goes back to flip a page. I have no intention of mentioning it in any case, said Anne icily, for she would have seen every fence in Avonlea painted with advertisements before she would have stooped to bargain with the man who would sell his vote. Just so, agreed Judson, imagining they understood each other beautifully. I didn't suppose you would, of course. I was only stringing Jerry. He thinks he's so all-fired cute and smart. I've no intention of voting for Amesbury. I'm going to vote for Grant, as I've always done. You'll see when that election comes off. I just led Jerry on to see if he would commit himself, and it's all right about the fence. You can tell the improvers that. It takes all sorts of people to make a world, as I've often heard, but I think there are some who could be spared, Anne told her reflection in the East Gable mirror that night. I wouldn't have mentioned the disgraceful thing to a soul anyhow, so my conscience is clear on that score. I really don't know who or what is to be thanked for this. I did nothing to bring it about. It's hard to believe that Providence ever works by means of the kind of politics men like Judson Parker and Jerry Corcoran have. And that was the end of chapter 14. And I guess I'll stop there because we're already after 17 minutes. I'll try to come back if I can. Today's a live day, so I'm not sure. Chapter 15 is called The Beginning of Vacation. Let me kind of look and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Come on. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-ish pages, so we'll see. We'll see, but if not, tomorrow. Love you bunches. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. And I hope to see you live at 5. And y'all, Squirrel Squad Nation is taking over. Thanks to Dana and her great idea about the Christmas in July fairies, we have increased our squad. Just since I made that fairy video on, what was it, Friday? 114. I'll be at 2K in no time, but I'm going to wait and do my giveaway for that until all the fairy Christmas stuff is out of the way, and I hope that's understandable. I just don't have the money to do everything that close together, so if y'all hang in there a little while, and two, I want to make sure I stay at 2K, that folks don't leave me after the fairy biz is over. I'm hoping, praying not, but sometimes that happens. So anyway, hope to see you at 5.